Welcome to the session on stamp duty. In this session, we are going to see about the implementation of stamp duty, its guidelines for payment, procedure of execution of transaction, and other related information. So what is stamp duty? Stamp duty is basically a tax imposed by the government on the instruments mentioned in the Indian Stamp Act 1899. During the 2019, the central government notified the Indian Stamp Rules 2019 and the same has been effective from 1st July 2020. As per the above notification, the depositories are empowered to collect the stamp duty on behalf of the state government in accordance with the provisions of the Act. Accordingly, a depository collects the stamp duty amount from the issuer for issuance of securities from the transferor for transfer of securities. So now we are going to see in detail regarding these points in these sessions. Background and objective for implementation of Indian Stamp Rules 2019, guidelines for payment of stamp duty, procedure for execution of transactions, stamp duty utilization report, relevant circulars in respect of stamp duty, certain frequently asked questions and its answers. Now let us see the background for implementation of Indian Stamp Rules 2019. Earlier system of collection of stamp duty and securities market transaction has led to multiple rates for the same instrument. That is, for issuance of securities, earlier the rate of stamp duty was not uniform and it varied from one state to another state, and that results in jurisdictional disputes and multiple incidences of duty, thereby raising the transaction cost in the securities market. Earlier, for transfer of securities in Demat form, stamp duty was not chargeable. But now, after the implementation of uniform stamp duty, for transfer of shares in Demat form, the stamp duty is applicable. Further, in order to facilitate ease of doing business and to bring the uniformity on the stamp duty on securities across the states, the central government has made the amendments in the Indian Stamp Act 1899 and has introduced the Indian Stamp Rules 2019. Now let us see the objective for introduction of Indian Stamp Rules 2019. The main objective is to collect the stamp duty on securities market transactions at one place by one agency on one instrument. Collection of stamp duty through the stock exchanges or through the clearing corporations authorized by the stock exchange or by the depositories. In case of sale of any securities made through the stock exchange, the stamp duty shall be collected on the settlement day by the stock exchange or a clearing corporation. Similarly, for off-market transactions involving consideration and issuance of securities happens in the Demat form, depositories shall collect the stamp duty on before the execution of transactions. The mechanism for collection of stamp duty on the securities held in the Demat form have drastically changed. The stamp duty shall be collected by the depositories from the transferor or issuers, and the same shall be remitted to the accounts of the respective state governments of the buying client. Now let us discuss the guidelines for payment of stamp duty. As per the rules, stamp duty leviable shall be collected before execution of all off-market transfers based on the consideration amount specified by the transferor. In case of transfer of securities pursuant to invocation of pledge, stamp duty shall be collected from the pledgee based on the consideration amount specified by the pledgee. Further, the participants and the clients shall ensure that the stamp duty is remitted to NSDL before executing the transaction in NSDL system. The procedure to be followed by participants or clients while making the payments toward the stamp duty is as follows. For transfer of securities, the stamp duty shall be paid by the transferor client, transferor DP. For issuance of securities, the stamp duty shall be paid by the issuer. The participants or clients or issuer can make payment towards the stamp duty either through the payment gateway or through the NEFT, RTGS, internet banking, IMPS, using through the virtual account facility. For payment through the NEFT, RTGS, internet banking, or IMPS, NSDL has availed the virtual account facility from NSDL Payment Bank. Payments of stamp duty should be remitted only to the virtual bank account which is assigned to them. Virtual account number assigned to them which is as under. Virtual account number for DPs is SDDP followed by 8-digit DPID without any space. STDP, it means stamp duty for depository participant. Similarly, virtual account for clients is SDCL followed by 16-digit DPID and client ID combination. And virtual account number for issuers is SDIS followed by 4-digit issuer code. Payments made through the virtual account number shall be considered as payment towards the stamp duty. The payment can also be made through the payment gateway link which is available on NSDL website, that is nsdl.co.in. On the home page, left side, there is a tab namely stamp duty. Once you click on that link, you will see this page. For simplicity and convenience of clients, stamp duty calculator is available on NSDL website. The participants, clients may check the applicable charges using the stamp duty calculator before making the payment of stamp duty. However, it is advised that for payment of stamp duty, the exact calculations may be made as per the provisions contained in the relevant acts, rules, etc. Once you calculated the payment of stamp duty, click on the link Pay Stamp Duty and you will get this page for payment of stamp duty. Participants or clients or issuer are requested to use the payment gateway link only for the payment of stamp duty and not for any other purposes. Here, there is an option whether the stamp duty is paid by the Demat account holder or the depository participant or the issuer. In case payment is made by the client, they are required to mention the DPID, client ID, email ID, mobile number, and estimated stamp duty amount details while making the payment. In case the payment is made by the participant, then they have to mention the DPID, email ID, mobile number, amount towards the stamp duty details while making the payment. After entering the details, click on that Make Payment and select the payment mode. The payment mode, either it may be a net banking, credit card, debit card, wallets, UPI. Once you selected the mode of payment and then make the payment. The funds remitted will be accounted by NSDL towards stamp duty under the DPID or the DPID client ID entered in the payment gateway page at the time of remitting the amount. After successful payment, challan will be generated for payment of stamp duty amount. Any queries with respect to payment of stamp duty, participant may write to NSDL at amitc@nsdl.co.in or arokiraj@nsdl.co.in. Now let us see the procedure for execution of transaction. As informed earlier, the stamp duty shall be remitted to NSDL before executing the transaction in the NSDL system. Accordingly, after making the payment, the client may submit the DAS to the DP. After receipt of DAS from the client, DP will enter the details in the NSDL system along with the consideration amount ISIN wise. Subsequently, there are two options available for selecting the stamp duty, whether the stamp duty is paid by the client or the stamp duty is paid by the DP. DP has to select the appropriate flag based on the payment of stamp duty, whether it is done by the client or DP itself for execution of transactions. In case the payment of stamp duty is not received by NSDL on the execution date, in such cases, the status of transaction will be as on hold for stamp duty payment till the confirmation of collection of stamp duty. If the confirmation is not received till EOD, then such transactions will get rejected at EOD. Now let us see how does the NSDL system check the payment of stamp duty. NSDL system calculates the stamp duty on the basis of consideration entered in the system by DP and checks the stamp duty payment of the same with the NSDL payment bank based on the virtual account number, that is SDDP followed by DPID if the payment indicator selected by the DP, or SDDP SDCL followed by the DPID and client ID if the payment is selected by the client. If the credit of stamp duty amount is lying with the NSDL payment bank, then the transaction will get executed in the NSDL system. If the credit of stamp duty is not lying with the NSDL payment bank, then the transaction will be on hold status, stamp duty payment overdue till EOD. Meanwhile, NSDL will send communication to the clients through email or SMS for payment of stamp duty with the payment gateway link. NSDL will check the confirmation of payment on a regular intervals. All transactions whose status is on hold will be rejected at EOD. In this regard, participants may check the status of transaction on a regular basis, and if any transaction are on hold due to the payment of stamp duty, are advised to refer the stamp duty utilization report to check whether the sufficient balance is available for the particular transaction. Now let us see the importance of stamp duty utilization report. The stamp duty utilization report in respect of payment made at DPID level is available on ePOS. The stamp duty report will enable the participant to reconcile the details of stamp duty paid and utilized. The report can be accessed using the existing login credentials for ePOS. In the NSDL system, amount remitted towards stamp duty shall be utilized as per the indicator selected while executing the transaction in the system. That is, if the client indicator is selected, the balance is available at the time of execution against the DPID and client ID will be utilized. In case if the DP indicator is selected, then the balance available against the DPID will be utilized. Now let us see the process flow for viewing or downloading the stamp duty utilization report. The participant can log into the ePOS website and after entering the credentials, then click on stamp duty, view stamp duty utilization report. Then they have to select the date range and DPID from the DPID. Click on the view and all entries pertaining to that period will display on the screens. The participant may export in PDF or export in Excel facility is also given. Now let us see the relevant circulars in respect of stamp duty. In order to facilitate ease of doing business and to bring in uniformity of the stamp duty and securities across states, the central government has made the amendments to the Indian Stamp Act 1899 and notified the Indian stamp collection of stamp duty through the stock exchanges, clearing corporations and depositories rules 2019. The relevant notifications are communicated to all participants via our circular dated December 12, 2019. And there is one more important FAQ issued by the SEBI that is available on the link provided in this. This FAQ clarifies the information which are related to that, why the amendments have been carried out, what are the objectives and key benefits of amendments, who will collect the stamp duty, and applicable stamp duty rates are clarified in the FAQ. And another circular is capturing the consideration amount in case of pledge invocation. As discussed, in case of transfer of securities pursuant to the pledge invocation, the stamp duty to be paid by the pledgee based on the consideration amount mentioned in the pledge request form. For further information with respect to the operation guidelines, participants can visit the NSDL circular dated December 18, 2019. And another one important circular is revised or detailed procedure regarding guidelines for collection of stamp duty. As discussed, participant can make the stamp duty amount either through the payment gateway or through the RTGS or NEFT using the virtual account number. For detailed procedure for making the payment, participant may refer the NSDL circular dated June 26, 2020. And another one important circular is utilization of stamp duty report. As informed, stamp duty utilization report is available on ePass. For detailed procedure in respect of stamp duty utilization report, you may refer the circular NSDL circular number dated October 26, 2020. Now let us see the frequently asked questions. We used to get many queries from the DPs and clients with respect to the following questions. Who will pay the stamp duty? In case of off-market transfer, the stamp duty should be available on the transferor account. That is transferor, DP ID and client ID combination. And in case of pledge invocation, the stamp duty should be available in the pledgee's account. And other question is on what amount the stamp duty required to be paid. The stamp duty required to be paid based on the consideration amount mentioned on the DAS. When the stamp duty needs to be paid, the stamp duty required to be paid before the execution of transaction. In case if the stamp duty is not received by NSDL on the date of execution of transactions, then the instruction will wait till the EOD. If the sufficient amount is received during the EOD, then the instruction will get executed. Otherwise, the instruction will be rejected at EOD. What type of transactions are covered? All type of off-market transfers, including pledge invocations, where consideration is involved, it's subject to payment of stamp duty. What is the procedure for refund of stamp duty amount? Stamp duty amount paid in buyer or transferee account, then the client may request NSDL through DP for refund, or they can adjust for another transactions. So with this, I conclude my presentations. If you have any questions, then you can reach out to NSDL in the email ID mentioned in the previous slides. And I hope this slide helps the investors and the depository participant to understand the importance of the stamp duty, how the stamp duty is collected by NSDL, and how it is used at the time of execution of transactions. Thank you all.